When we pulled up to the cul-de-sac in our rust-colored Honda, the quiet was almost deafening. It was a bright Saturday in June, the kind of day that feels soaked in possibility. But as my father cut the ignition, the tension in the car was thick enough to chew. I was 12 years old enough to feel it even if I didn't fully understand it. My little sister, Zoe, was asleep with her head on my lap. My mother stared out the window at our new house, a modest two-story with cream siding, a neat lawn, and the American dream nailed to the mailbox. Dad exhaled, cracked his knuckles, and muttered, "Let's do this." Our family was moving into Meadowbrook Heights, one of those suburban enclaves where every driveway is paved, every lawn is mowed, and every neighbor smiles just a little too tightly. It was a predominantly white neighborhood, and we were the first black family to move in. We didn't talk about it out loud, not right away, but it was there in the way the neighbors peeked through curtains. It was there in the way Mr. Jennings, across the street, didn't wave back when my dad smiled. It was there in the silence that followed our footsteps as we moved our things inside. My name is Marcus Taylor, and this is the story of the year that changed everything. My parents were hardworking people. Dad was a math teacher who spoke with purpose, each word carefully weighed. Mom was a nurse who could read your soul with just a look. They believed in education, in saving, in showing up 10 minutes early. They believed that moving us to Meadowbrook was a step forward and escape from the noise and the broken sidewalks and the constant fear of what could go wrong. But from the start, it felt like we were intruding on something unspoken. On our second day, Zoe drew a hopscotch board in chalk on the sidewalk. A few minutes later, we watched from the window as someone hosed it away. No note, no words, just erasure. At school, it was worse. The kids didn't know what to make of me. They'd ask if I liked fried chicken, if I could rap, if my dad had been to jail. They said it like jokes, with that smile kids use when they wanted to laugh, along when they want to feel okay about what they're really saying. I remember one boy, Jordan. He said, "You're cool for a black kid," like it was a compliment. I laughed, but later that night, I cried in the shower. It wasn't all bad, though. There was Mrs. Whitaker, our next-door neighbor, a white woman in her 70s. She brought us banana bread the day we moved in. At first, we thought it might be pity. But week after week, she'd wave, ask about Zoe's dolls, or compliment my mother's garden. She told me once, "I grew up in a time when folks like you didn't live next door, but I'm glad you do now." It was the first time someone had said something real. Then there was Mr. Jenkins, different from Jennings across the street. Jenkins was a Vietnam vet who walked his dog every morning at 6 a.m. For weeks, he didn't speak to us. But one morning, Dad joined him. They walked together in silence. And then, slowly, they started talking. Not about race, about weather, about war, about life. That's how it started. Still, tension never left the air. There was a Halloween when someone spray-painted "Go Home" on our garage. I remember my mother scrubbing it off while tears rolled down her cheeks. I remember my dad holding Zoe like she might break. And I remember feeling rage bloom in my chest, hot and helpless. My parents reported it. The police said they'd look into it. But nothing ever came of it. After that, things changed. My dad stopped waving. My mom started sleeping less. Zoe drew sad faces instead of hopscotch. And me? I started keeping my head down. But that's when something strange happened. At school, I got assigned a history project with Emma Carlson. Blonde, bright, and always sitting in the front row. I thought she'd asked to switch partners. But she didn't. Instead, we met at her house. Her mom watched me like a hawk, but Emma didn't flinch. She asked about my favorite music, told me about her fear of public speaking. We worked on that project for 2 weeks, and in that time, something changed. She told me, "I never knew anyone like you. You're not what I expected." I didn't know how to take it, but I said, "Maybe you should change your expectations." Winter came, and with it, a storm that knocked out power across the neighborhood. While most people stayed inside, my dad went house to house, checking on people. It was something he did in our old neighborhood. Without question, he helped the Jenkinses set up a generator. He brought firewood to Mrs. Whitaker. Even Jennings accepted a flashlight. And the next day, for the first time since we moved in, there was a knock on our door. It was Mr. Jennings. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, eyes low. He said, "Thanks for looking out for us." He paused. "Guess I was wrong about you." My dad said, "You didn't know us. Now you do." Jennings nodded and left. By spring, the neighborhood was still mostly quiet. The smiles were still tight. But something had shifted. People started waving back. Zoe got invited to a birthday party. At school, Emma and I did another project together, this time on civil rights. I read the words of Dr. King aloud to the class. My voice shook, but I didn't hide. And when summer rolled around, we had a barbecue. My mom grilled ribs. My dad played Old Marvin Gaye. Mrs. Whitaker brought peach cobbler. The Jenkinses came with folding chairs. Even Jennings stopped by. He didn't stay long, but he showed up. Looking back, that year was a mosaic of moments, some painful, some powerful. And it taught me something that sticks with me even now. You don't change a place overnight. You don't shatter prejudice with one kind gesture or a single act of courage. But you chip away at it moment by moment until the cracks let in light. We didn't move to Meadowbrook to change it. We moved because we believed we had the right to. Because progress isn't just marching in the streets, it's unpacking boxes in neighborhoods where people like you weren't always welcome. It's being seen. It's showing up over and over again. So when you ask me what it was like, I'll tell you the truth. It was hard. It was lonely. It was beautiful. And it was worth it.